All right, let's play some blues. All right, close enough. So that was a little bit of George Benson's Mr. X. This is him playing it with Jimmy Slide with Joe Jones. And today we're going to talk about all of the things that this very short piece teaches you about playing jazz, blues, improvisation. And we don't need to learn any new scales. In fact, most of what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you some very simple things that George Benson is doing here that makes his playing sound great. And I'll break down a lot of what I just did. So before we begin, it is important that you know at least at a basic level this blues scale. And after that, we're really not going to talk about any scales or theory beyond just this starting point. So A blues scale, A, C, D, D sharp or E flat, E, and G, and into the next octave. Just using that as a starting point, that is great for a lot of blues genre work. And when we're talking about jazz blues, we're mixing this idea of jazz and blues. And this intersection here is really about approaching the tune like a blues player would while still addressing some of the changes, some of the harmonic differences between the chords when they change. And I'll show you specific ways that we do that in this blues idiom. Because it's different than you might expect. And we have 5 today that I want to go through, 5 different ideas that will help you master jazz blues improvisation. The very first one is this idea I call the pentatonic +1. And this is sort of a reframing of how to think about scales. I'm sure I'm going to get some people in the comments that have not taught anybody, who have not taught nearly as many students as I have and had the success that I've had within Chase Guitar Academy and years before that. And I've tested different ways of teaching these ideas with my students. And I found that this one is very helpful for people. And it's because it simplifies the amount of processing our brain needs to do. There's been studies on this. Your brain can really only retain 5 to 7 unique items at a time. And so when we're thinking about a full scale, that's just too much bits of information to process while trying to improvise. And what we can do instead is have a scale or an idea that we've already internalized, like this blues scale, and just add one new thing. So it's like blues scale becomes just one unit in your mind because you've internalized that. If you haven't, then you have to do that work. But you just think blues scale, and then I'm going to add in one more note. And some people are like, okay, but that's just like a 7-note scale. The difference is I don't want you to think about each individual 7 notes. It gets too close to this crow epistemology. And so what we're going to do, this first one we're going to add in, we see it in the melody here of Mr. X. It's the 6th. So the 6th or the 13th for A, this is an A blues, is F sharp. And we see that in that first little part of the melody. Instead of going A down to G, A down to F sharp. Why is this important? Well, that F sharp is our 3rd of D7. And the 3rd is a very important defining note for any chord. And so when we have our blues scale, we don't have that F sharp. And so as a jazz blues player, we want to make sure we're hitting the 3rds for these chords. And by adding in that 6th, I would think about it, go through your blues scale, and then find your F sharp. And lot of times the F sharp is actually replacing this seventh. You play it instead of playing G. So you would not do this kind of thing usually, like walking up F sharp, G, A. It's usually in place of the G. So that's the first one. One more example of this in this Benson solo is in the third chorus over D7. He's adding in the 13th here and this third. You really want to visualize this just still over this kind of basic A minor pentatonic blues scale shape. The second idea I want to talk about is this pentatonic +1 for the thirds now. And so we did it with that F sharp added in. And we also want to do it for the A7. So in our blues scale, we have the flatted third or the sharp ninth, the C, but we don't have the C sharp. So just like we want our third for D7, we want our third for A7. And we see this a lot as well. On that second chorus of the solo that I played, we get a good example here, actually a great example of how you might differentiate between that flat third or the major third. Now, it depends on what context or scale you're trying to envision this over, but we want to use the C sharp when it's A7. And we heard Benson do that at the start of his second chorus. In that second measure, when it would normally switch to D7, he switches, instead of using the C sharp, to using the C natural. And that's because C natural is the flat 7. It's in our D7. So you see how we're really just making sure that if we're on D7, we're focusing more on using C's and F sharps. And if we're on the A7, we're using more of the C sharps and maybe G's. So those notes switch which one half step wise we're using depending on whether we're on A7 or D7. That can start to get really complicated. All I want you to do with that is just see how Benson's using it. He's kind of playing around, using that C sharp for A7, and then the C for the D7. The thing that's important here is just don't use the C sharp when it's D7. As long as you do that, you'll be fine. The C works great whether it's A7 or D7, so you're always safe using that. The third really important concept for mastering jazz blues here is start off with just very simple 3-note ideas. And this is for your melodies, this is for your blues riffs. You want to first start off by trying to create some blues riffs. Benson does this very simply right at the start. His solo is just that, A, C, A, just those 3 notes. When we go to the second chorus, he's still just working on a new 3-note idea. C sharp, D, and A. Just that little 3-note grouping and playing with how can I come up with a melody there. And what's cool about that is then when you're going into the next chord, all you need to do to improvise through this is just say, how do I change that 3-note idea so that it fits over the next chord? In this example, he goes, oh, I need to change that C sharp to a C natural because it's going to go to D7. And then I can change it back. This brings us to our next point, which is repetition. And there's a few kinds of repetition that I want to talk about. It's really important that you do this within blues, more important than really any other form type for repetition, because blues has this history of call and response. And Benson is using that. There's a few ways we can repeat different ideas. So you can take an idea and you can repeat the shape of it. What I mean by that is we have a note, goes up a minor third, comes back. So I could find other ways to take that exact interval shape and fit it within our key, within our scale, within our chord, however you want to think about it. And it, on guitar, it's very easy to see because you see that blues scale shape and right up a string, you have the same idea. So that's what Benson does. He's almost doing the second type of repetition, which is repeating the rhythm. It's very close to being the same rhythm, but the second time it's shorter. So it's like a quarter note, 2/8 notes, but he holds on to it. And then the second time it's short. So we could repeat the shape, we could repeat the rhythm. We can repeat then that whole phrase, which is what he does. right? He just has the different chords in between. And then the fourth type of repetition here is on a broader form level, where we think about how we're repeating our idea and then changing it across the entire form. And this is where we get into more of that storytelling element. The thing you want to think about here, I call it SSD, like the hard drive. It's same, same, and different. So you have a phrase, then you repeat it, so that's same, same, and then maybe the next time it's different. Sometimes this happens actually where it's you play a phrase, you repeat it once, you repeat it again, and then it's different. So 2 to 3 times of playing it the same, and then the third or fourth time it should be different. Just like with jokes, we're kind of setting up an expectation, and then we change it, and that has a payoff musically for the audience. To demonstrate this kind of repetition, listen to just the first 8 bars of his first chorus solo, and listen for the kinds of repetition, how he's using it. 3, 4, Okay, and I saved the best for last here, this number 5. We're going to talk about how to approach the last 4 measures. This is where we have that 2-5 if we're playing this like a jazz blues. Before we do that, I really want to mention that I have my 90-day jazz blues system starting very soon within Chase Guitar Academy. Limited spots. This starts on January 5th. If you join before then, you'll also get access to my Grant Green Master Study, which has 35 of the best Grant Green licks, has a bunch of Grant Green solo transcriptions, a bunch of my Grant Green lessons, just anything related to Grant Green, who I think is one of the best guys to study for jazz blues playing. Even better than Benson in a lot of cases because it's a lot more accessible for you to learn from. So within that system, you'll learn a bunch of different jazz repertoire, and then each week on Monday, I'm releasing a new video, pre-recorded, edited, just like these YouTube videos for you to learn, and I'm gonna be there every step of the way for 90 days. You'll learn a bunch of new jazz tunes, a bunch of new improv concepts, and a bunch of solo studies. It's gonna be great. I know you'll dig it. You can check out more below. I should also mention that the PDF is gonna be inside Chase Guitar Academy as well for this. Okay, so the last 2-5, the last 4 measures of the blues form is really where we see jazz musicians playing more of the jazz lines. And this is where we also see them start to play some arpeggios. So let's see what Benson does here when he gets to that section. The first thing is actually in the melody. When it's at E7, the melody has this D major 9, or D major 7 if it's the second time around, D major arpeggio. The way you should think about that is when you have a dominant chord, when you're on the 5 chord, go a whole step below that, so E7, whole step below is D, and then play D major 7 type of ideas. You can slide into that D and go up to the 9th. What's great about this is when you're coming back down the arpeggio, you get the resolution, the A major triad. So it really sets you up for 5 to 1 very, very nicely. It's a very pretty kind of sound over a dominant chord instead of like an altered type of sound, which we get later. The second example I want to talk about is actually leading into that 2-5. So that's measure 8 of the blues, where we have a lot of times this 2-5 leading into the 2-5, a 3-6-2-5. And so that's another spot you'll see people play a lot of arpeggios because you have that short 2-5 lick that leads you into your next jazz approach. So Benson has a very common one here, nothing too crazy, over C sharp minor 7. And you'll notice also he's doing this very common rhythm of 8th note rest, 8th note into triplet. So 1, triplet. What's cool about the approach after this is it's this, if you hear that sound, that's an F sharp augmented kind of sound. So he's coming back down, he jumps up to that F sharp, coming back down, F sharp augmented, and then goes to the C sharp B. Actually, that whole idea reminds me of this approach we've been studying in CGA from Wes, for those of you guys that are in CGA, where he does on Days of Wine and Roses, over B flat minor, It's very similar to this. So anyways, that's just something that came to mind. So that's one thing you can do in leading into the last 2/5. And then the third one is you can start to plan out a lot of interesting variations over this 2/5. You don't have to just think of it as B minor and E7. You can do a lot of cool things. So Benson does something super interesting here. I'll play it first and then I'll talk about it. 3, 4. Okay, so over B minor, he plays F sharp minor 7. F sharp minor 7 arpeggio. But then he goes into C minor 7, like C minor 9. Coming out of that, F minor 7, and then E augmented. So what is going on there? So this is how I would break it down. Benson's basically implying this F sharp minor, C minor, F minor, E7, A7. The way I would think about the C minor, we get this a lot within the melody of this tune, right? We have a lot of this half-step chromaticism, or the F minor going to E minor. So he's playing off of what we already see in the melody. And he has that, just 2 beats each, very standard 7th arpeggio. That C minor is going to be a lift, like a chromatic, doesn't fit for a second. F minor doesn't even fit, but he smoothly goes using this to fit in over the E7, because F minor over E7 gives it that altered sound. And then lastly, after the A7, he's playing like D minor 7 arpeggio and B flat major 7 arpeggio. This is just another kind of half step, sidestepping, implying B flat major into A7. So the D minor 7 are notes that fit over B flat major, and then B flat major 7 arpeggio is chromatically going down. So within this, you can also play chromatically, not just the chord that's written, but also go up a half step and then come back. So B minor, C minor, come back. E7, go up to F minor and come back, or even A up to B flat major will create tension, back, down. That's a little bit of an advanced concept that takes some work. If you want more on that, I have a whole workshop inside CGA on how Benson uses chromaticism. You can check that out in CGA, as well as the 90-day jazz blues system, and a lot more. If you guys are interested in improving your jazz blues, I promise you that course will be great for you. And I'm actually there every day helping you guys out. This is actually something I've been surprised about recently. I've gotten a lot of messages about this where people are surprised that I actually send them a message in the chat and actually am there helping them out. And it's kind of unfortunate actually that other teachers are not doing that to that degree so that their students succeed. But that's something that I do every single day. I'm recording this on a Sunday so that all of the students inside CGA have success, and I'm there every step of the way. Hopefully I will see you there. In the meantime, we'll play some more of this jazz blues.